Hi everyone! This week we are thinking about Take Shelter. This is a really interesting movie about the apocalypse, sort of, from several years ago, and I hope that you enjoyed it or found it interesting. The first thing I want to say is that one of the reasons I picked this movie is because stories about the apocalypse are incredibly popular right now. You can find them in movies, you can find them in TV shows, books, poems, plays, all over the place. So if you are interested in a TV show like The Walking Dead or in a movie like The Road, which was also based on a novel, um, this movie, Take Shelter, is very much in conversation with that kind of story. There is a very big cultural obsession with the end of the world and trying to figure out how to avoid it, or if it's going to happen anyway, how to prepare for it. So that's one of the reasons I picked the movie. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the importance of the movie and how it's structured. The first idea I want to talk about is how Curtis, the main character, needs to operate in two almost entirely different universes. All right, now, in some ways, the movie needs a character that is invested in not just his own survival, but in the survival of his family. All right, and the reason that the movie needs that is that it needs to have a character that is committed to being prepared regardless to what is actually happening. So the movie sets up these two different universes. The one universe is based off of the end of the world. What if everything is about to end and we are all, or a lot of us, about to die because of a storm or zombies or a tidal wave? It doesn't matter what happens, but we might all be on the verge of being killed off. All right, so what if that is going to happen? So Curtis goes through really drastic actions to prepare for that. Right? He goes so far as to take a second mortgage out of his house to finance the building of this bunker in the backyard. All right, now this is a decision that, if he is wrong, could financially ruin the family. Now that's one universe, the end of the world. The other universe is about mental health, right? So what if the disaster isn't the end of the world, but it is about Curtis's psychotic or schizophrenic break? There's all this information in the movie about what happened to Curtis's mother. Now, Curtis needs to come to terms with the fact that instead of the end of the world happening, what might actually be happening is that Curtis has had a schizophrenic break and is now unhinged from reality and can't really depend on his senses and his own thought process to make sense of the world around him. There are all kinds of scenes in the movie that really force us to think about how both of these universes, so the end of the world versus the psychotic break, how they can be thrown together. I'm going to give you one such moment. It happens about 29 minutes into the movie. At this point, Curtis goes to the library with his daughter, Hannah, and he takes out a stack of books. Now, this stack of books has titles that have to do with the end of the world. So, how do we prepare for the coming apocalypse? But in this exact same stack of books, we have titles about mental health and schizophrenia. All right, so the movie puts these very different kinds of books in the very same stack. And the reason it does that is that it gives us a literal representation of how these two universes can operate side by side and what it means to prepare for either one. All right, Curtis has very set contingency plans so that he can kind of adapt or prepare as much as possible for either impending crisis. Now, the second thing I want to talk about, which again is more food for thought than anything else, is how the movie takes away Curtis's ability to ground himself in other people's experiences. Now, just to talk about this really generally first, We all do this. One of the ways that we decide that something is real or not real is we use other people, right? We do this in our own experiences. We do this in movies. We do this in TV shows. One of the reasons that watching a movie on your screen or by yourself on your own television set is different than going to a movie is that the movie has a community that can influence you, right? You might find yourself laughing not because of what happened in the movie, but because other people are laughing, right? We all have these social cues that we use, which are ways of grounding ourselves, right? You wake up in the morning and you ask someone if something really happened, right? Or if it was a dream, right? We use other people to ground ourselves all the time. Now, the movie is going to play with this. There are a lot of different scenes where Curtis cannot ground himself. All right, there's a moment when Curtis is at work and he sees the birds flying around in a really strange pattern, and he turns to his coworker and says, "Have you ever seen birds fly like that?" We don't get an answer. The coworker is distracted, and then the camera pans away to another scene, so we don't know. We don't know whether Curtis is having a schizophrenic break or is experiencing the start of the apocalypse and the warning signs that come with the apocalypse. Now, there's another scene when Curtis is holding on to his daughter. This is towards the end of the film. He's holding on to his daughter. They're going down a road, and the birds fly at them. All right, fly right, almost like they're going to hit them. Right, then go up into the air and start dropping. They start dying, just immediately. Right, with almost no cause, nothing that can be identified. Now, as this is happening, Curtis is holding on to Hannah, right? So she cannot see it. She has her head burrowed into his shoulder, and that is incredibly important because it takes away Curtis's ability to ground himself and to ground his experience in his daughter, right? He can't turn to her and say, "Do you see that? Is this happening? Is this real?" Right? So the movie takes that away, which is incredibly important. Now, one of the exceptions, and I really want to hear your guys' thoughts about this in the discussion boards and the quizzes, one of the exceptions is the ending, right? The tidal wave. Curtis goes out, he sees it, he turns to his wife, and there's this mostly non-verbal communication between them. I wonder what you guys make of this. It's one of the few moments in the movie where Curtis has some ability to ground himself and to ground his experiences in another person. All right, so those are some of my very general thoughts about this movie. I'm really interested to see what everyone thought about